Today we're going to talk about this little clock right here. This is an electric cathedral clock that most definitely dates back to the 1930s, and I'll tell you why we know that in a second. Let's do a measurement on this. I mean, we're really looking at about 7 inches tall, which is kind of crazy, and about 4 inches wide, and the face is about 3 inches across. These were pretty popular actually in the late 20s and in the 30s and into the 40s, created by a number of different manufacturers, most notably probably Hammond. So this clock is made out of Bakelite, and we can kind of tell by just looking on the back here, there's a little bit of a chip out of here. And so if that doesn't give it away, really the fact is that everything that was made out of plastic in the 20s and 30s and even into the 40s and 50s in some cases was made out of Bakelite. The other thing that helps to date this actually is the fact that it's an electric motor. Still have a little bit of gunk from the store to clean off there with the label, but we know that it's an electric motor, and it helps to date it by the fact that there is a start knob right here. This is for setting the time on it, and then this is a start knob. So what you have to do to start these clocks is you plug it in, and then you have to spin this knob real hard like this to get the clock running. These early synchronous motors, now remember they had kind of magnets inside that created a magnetic field, and that's what spun the clock. Well, these early ones, if you notice on here, it actually says to start the clock we need to turn that spin knob to the left. Well, I'm going to turn it to the right, because these early clocks actually, if you spun it the wrong way, you could actually get the clock to run backwards. So now if you watch that minute hand up there, you'll see the clock actually going backwards. Later synchronous motors or clocks that had a spin start like this actually had a ratchet or something inside so that you couldn't spin them backwards, only forwards. So that helps to date this clock too. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and unplug this and stop it, and then let's go ahead and start this clock and spin the little knob in the right direction, and then we can see that the clock is running in the correct forward direction. Well, so I started doing a little bit of research here to try to figure out what exactly this clock is, since it only says electric on the face and it has no markings or brand on it. And it turns out that there actually was an electric clock company out of Chicago, Illinois. That is according to the Made in Chicago Museum. And this company was owned by a man named Henry Schiff. Schiff was famous for, or maybe infamously known for, making inexpensive copies of products that he really liked. And the story goes that he tried to get a license from Hammond to make versions of this electric cathedral clock and was denied. So he figured out a way to make them on his own anyway and was sued for it later. But until then, the Electric Time Company made a lot of electric clocks under the brand name Lincoln. But the cathedral clock that's a Lincoln doesn't really look like this one, so I did a little more digging to see what was up. And the only thing I could come up with that was similar is this one that has the Peerless brand name on it. Same dial, same window, same numerals, but not an exact match. So perhaps this clock is either one of the Peerless clocks that Peerless actually had a license to create, or maybe it's actually an Electric Clock Company clock that's made to look like a Peerless and may have been given away or sold to dealers in bulk as a cross promotion, kind of like this ad right here. So that's what we know about this clock, an electric cathedral clock that doesn't seem to be marked, dates back to the early 1930s, spin start motor, made of Bakelite, has a little window up front right there, runs forwards or backwards, and I paid $4.50 for this clock, by the way. So now all we need to do is just put it on the shelf and just enjoy it.